son of a bitch is huge. I mean, it's like a man. It's big.
Kane's son.
You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism.
Just tell me one thing, Burke. You're going out there to destroy them, right? Not to study, not to bring back, but to wipe them out.
That's the plan. You have my word on it.
All right, I'm in.
Let's run!
Don't look back, dude! Run as fast as you can!
Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Welcome to Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga Podcast. I am your host, Jaime Prater, and I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Patrick Green,
Christian Motzka,
AndieGeekGirl,
Ari Chicos,
and Xander House, who is sitting here listening as we record this episode. Welcome, Xander. Thanks for being on the show. Today's a very, very special episode for all of us. For me, I know for you guys as well. This is our 200th official episode of Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga Podcast. That's pretty exciting. I mean, we've recorded hundreds, maybe a couple of thousand hours of, I don't know how that even works.
10 million hours.
10 million hours. But this is really great to have a show that's been around this long, that just continues to pick up steam and have the type of team that we have now. I think it's really great. So every day I'm always blown away to be a part of a group like this and to be a part of a show like this where we're making such an impression, not just in fandom, but in the lives of people. And so I am excited to be here and to celebrate that.
It is an exciting night indeed. I feel like it was just yesterday that we did our 100th episode, and I still remember like promoting that, and that feels like it was both yesterday and 25 years ago. But you know, before we get further into this, we've had a really fruitful season with Patreon lately. And before we start recording tonight, I want to just give a quick shout out to everyone who's joined in the last couple of months over the summer, because we're back from summer break. We're ready to record. We got our assholes and our elbows all set to go here. So everybody buckle up, and here's who joined. We have Philip Pace, Eric Gordon, Natasha Blockoff, Nolan Eller, Jay Hansen Law, Abir Tarafdar, Yossarian, Blood Hut, Steve Enriquez, Richard Alonso, Vincent Harris, Steve Paterson, who's just sent us a very nice message, by the way. Thank you, Steve. Adrian Persolia, and Giovanni Mazan, a great guy who I speak to quite a lot. And Adrian, I don't know if you're actually from Italy or not, but it's either Persolia or it's Persoglia. So let me know which one that is. Thank you to everybody who came on board. It is an honor to have you here. We hope you're enjoying the Prey frame rate that will have just dropped by the time you're hearing this. We have a lot more planned. So welcome aboard, and welcome everyone tonight to our 200th episode.
It's a pretty big deal. And so I just want to give a little bit of history of the show as we kind of roll on, how the show has the team that we have now, which is the best version of the show I've ever been involved with. The people that I've been looking for eventually fell into place. And that's a really great thing. I think it's a hard thing to find people to be in a creative project with. I think everyone knows what that's like. Sometimes if people don't sort of understand the vision, or they don't even, if they're not like, just, if it's not a right fit, it doesn't work. But when I started the show, it was with Peter Haight, who was amazing. Eventually, about a year or so later, Peter moved on, and then I had a couple different people. Ryan Zaid, who was awesome. Dave Gogol, who was also really great. And then we've had like a variation on like Connor Murdoch we had involved as a contributing host. Almost said a contributing organism. Trying to keep.
I mean, technically, he's that too. So yeah.
Yes, he is that as well. And what's been great about that and this journey that we're all on is, you know, even when Connor was involved, he had a baby during that time. Perry, it's been the same way. Since you've been involved, you've had a child. Like, we've all gone through so much. And even just Patrick and I, what Patrick and I have been through together before you guys even came aboard has been crazy, and it's been amazing. I mean, what's been, you know, crashing cars in downtown LA in 2019 and throwing events and getting in crazy arguments and not talking to each other, mostly me. But just this really amazing journey that we've been on where everything we've been through has just strengthened our friendship and our bond. And what's great, the great component to this is that it's all strengthened around something we love so dearly, and to be able to talk about that as much as we do and continue to find new things to talk about, new subjects, new ships to talk about, new weapons to talk about, new aliens to talk about, new games, new books. And, there's so much more coming in the next couple of years for sure. That is going to be fuel for the next almost 8 years. The show's been around. So in February of next year, it'll be 8 years. So thank you to everyone who had been involved in Perfect Organism in the past, who I know still listen. And I'm just so grateful to you guys who are here. Like, this is the show I want to be a part of. I could not do it with any of you. I'm serious. Like, you guys can't go anywhere. So I just want to say that.
I hope you're right. I really do.
I also just, as you were talking, I was thinking of other names of people who have been affiliated, because the show as it stands now, for one thing, Maj is not here tonight. He is, of course, an integral member of the team. But the show that you're hearing now with this crew is not only the result of the efforts of all of us together here tonight, but also all those people that Jaime was mentioning who have helped build it along the way and then gone off to do a lot of other things, like, for example, founding, the Hive Mind podcast in Dave's case, right? And Michael McCulloch, of course, also a really good friend of ours who's on the show quite a bit, working with Dave and others now. But also people like, Sean Hewitt, who got our YouTube stuff up and running a long time ago. Mike Andrews, who brought a love of history to the show. Of course, we'd be remiss to leave out Clara Chardia, who was on many, many, many episodes, was a contributor to the show for a long time. And she left because she does a lot of really interesting things, but also because she's now part of the industry that we're talking about and actually creating alien content, as you just heard on our episode with her and Philippa Ballantyne. So, we've had all of these wonderful people come and contribute to this atmosphere that have enriched it and grown the brand and the storytelling. And it's been, I think another thing that we should give a shout out to along the way is Weyland-Yutani Bulletin, which is the group that this podcast, of course, emerged from. And it's where I first got to know many of the people on the show tonight. And it wasn't always the most welcoming place in the world for some of us, but it was a place where a lot of my early, sort of alien social media memories were really firmly implanted. And, it was also a place where I put names to faces for a lot of people who I only knew through forums in the past. And one of them, of course, being Jaime Prater. And I kind of wanted to go back for a moment to because I remember the first time I ever heard the show. I remember what I was doing is one of those things. And I remember it because I was doing dishes and I was listening to episode 5 or 6. And I was like, man, there's a fucking alien podcast. How incredible is this? And I was like, I really got to find a way to get involved. And of course the audio drama happened and that's how I came aboard. But I look back on those days now, as for one thing, for me personally, it was such an amazing opportunity to get involved firsthand with these properties that I'm so obsessed with. It gave me this nice place to anchor my fandom in a really, vaguely professional way. But also it was my way of really tying into this community in a productive way that now, you guys are some of my best friends. This is one of my favorite places to be sitting here in my office on a phone call with you all, And so, Jaime, thank you for starting the ship and getting us sailing and keeping it going so beautifully in the years since.
And I'm telling you, I got a bad feeling about this drop.
You always say that, Frost. You always say I got a bad feeling about this drop.
Okay. When we get back without you, I'll call your folks.
So I got the chance to be on an early episode because Jaime and I were both moderators at Weyland-Yutani Bulletin. But I can remember when Patrick came on, because I was always obviously a listener through the years, but all of a sudden there was this guy that could match Jaime, that could throw out these gigantic 5-syllable words and mean them. It was honest, because the first time Patrick spoke, I'm like, bullshit. This is not how someone speaks. But he kept going. And I was like, wow, this guy is incredibly articulate and incredibly insightful. And so that got me really hooked on the show. And so cut to a year or so later, 2 years later, I don't know, when you guys invited me on, I thought, that's nice that they thought of me and I'll go say some things. And then they wanted to have a conference call with me, and my wife is saying, they want you to be on this show. I'm like, bullshit, that's not possible. But they did. And so that was really cool. And so, Patrick, you continue to amaze me with your vocabulary, but also with a level of expertise that you show in a broad range of topics. Mostly, though, I've got to say, your musical knowledge is, I should have a notebook out whenever you're talking about the scores of things. It's amazing. And then Jaime, you say this about yourself. You speak from the heart. You are so driven by what emotionally moves you. And there's a purity to that and an honesty that keeps me coming back. I'm always interested in how you're going to approach something because you're very, very genuine. And I don't know, to have brought these people together, to have created this whole, it isn't just a podcast is the crazy part of it, because there's storytelling going on. There's community building going on. There's so much more to Perfect Organism. And I am so happy to be part of it.
Well, we are happy that you're here. And I was looking at Christian for a while, and we had.
Oh yeah, he needs some background on this.
Yeah, he does, because
Christian, you were being sniped for a couple of years there.
But we'd had some really like negative experiences with looking for hosts, people who we would bring on, and they'd be like, yeah, and they wouldn't do anything. They'd just disappear after a week. But before that, we were going through 3 weeks of like, let's talking and putting out, notices and talking to people and interviewing people. And so at this point, we just got to this place where I was mentioning it to Patrick, but he was like, I don't know. And I even was like, I don't really know. I don't, this is just going to be me and you. It's just going to be me and you. And then Christian had been on the show before Patrick came on, actually. Christian was on an Alien 3 episode, maybe in 2016. I think summer of 2016. It was like
in the 20s or 30s, I think, of episodes.
Oh, I'm thinking like 1920s or 30s.
That's
yeah. But no, Christian was on then. But I just remember watching Christian interact with people on social media, and I always do that. I see who's reacting in kindness and who's being level-headed and who isn't. And of the group of moderators or admins for Wayland Yutani, I was like, this guy's really well spoken and he's really nice to people, and it just stuck with me. And so then I pitched him to Patrick, who was not that he wasn't a fan of you, he just didn't know you, but we had just been through so much. We were like, I don't think so, but then we took a chance and here you are. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, and I remember specifically because we had met a while before you came back on the show again, just because Jaime was like, you really should meet each other. You guys would be friends. You're both like really active parents. You're very nerdy parents, like, you'd really get along. And I was like, yeah, Christian's great, but I didn't remember you being on the show before. I didn't know if you were like, a podcaster. And then the first time you came on, we're like, can we get him to like sign on to the podcast for forever? Like instantly, we're like, let's keep him no matter what it takes. Because among other things, the depth of your, thank you for saying the nice things about my expertise, but the depth of your expertise truly astounds me continually, to the point where I kind of assume that you're just going to know something, and you always do for some reason. And I love that because it helps me see the movies differently, and I think it's really easy when you get into a groove where you're just talking about the same, handful of movies over and over again, to kind of run out of a need to keep up. You know what I mean? Like you become like a quote unquote authority, although we're not, authorities in anything, but you become somebody who people kind of just trust. You think, okay, I kind of, I'll keep reading my books and watching my movies. And then Christian comes on and I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to do homework. Like I have to I have to go on the blogs and I have to make sure I know what I'm talking about, because if I fuck up one of the armor platings, like I'm not going to hear the end of it. And it's amazing because that in itself has made the show materially better. I really feel like you have brought a gravitas to the way that we use knowledge and information here, and that we take it more seriously now. It's not like we didn't take it seriously before, but like there's a rigor now to when we talk about things that I think we needed, which was secret sauce for us in a lot of ways. But in addition to that, you're just such a great guy, and you're such a great addition to the show. And you're somebody that I just look forward to talking to just as a person. And of course, like I'm curious. I don't remember the first interaction that I had with Perry, because I feel like we've been friends for like 30 years.
That was a me thing too.
That was a you thing, right?
Yeah, because I was on IG, and I think, Perry, you were messaging me my personal IG, not
on Instagram. Yeah, that's right.
Not through Perfect Organism. And we were just talking, and I was like, wow, this guy's really passionate. And I remember talking to Patrick about him because I was always in the mindset of like, well, who can we bring aboard the show? Like, I want passionate people. I mean, I think you all want to interact with people who will take care of your children as well as you do, right? I mean, like your actual children. And so I approached my show this way. Perry just kept talking to me and was so excited about everything. And I'm like, wow, he's excited about stuff as I am. And then I thought, I think this guy wants to be on the show. You weren't saying that, but I felt it. And so then I pitched him to Patrick, and Patrick was like, but we'll see, just because he didn't know you.
I've always been the skeptical one, just because we went through so many hirings and like letting goes over the years, not like letting people go, but like people having to leave, that I was, and because you and I just work so well, I was like, well, we can kind of just like play to our strengths, But Perry was one of the first people after that initial period where I was like, there's something there. There's really something there. And then you came on and you were such a joy to talk to and get to know. And you were so curious and inquisitive, which is like such a rare trait. Like, you're such a good listener, Perry. You know that? Like, you really are a genuinely good listener. And not only in that you can like take it in, but the way that you're able to formulate responses to things, that's a rare gift that you have. And so like, it's been great getting to know you too and getting to call you a friend.
Thanks, you guys. I mean, ditto everything. I feel like so loved and like a part of this family. And Jaime, to your point, I think we were messaging so much that then we just started sending like voice texts to each other. We'd be like talking about something about the movie or whatever, And it was, I just had such a strong feeling to like, I don't care what you guys could have had me do. I just like wanted to help in some way. I was like, wow, this is such a cool, just like, a place to be talking to you guys about this thing that I've always felt like I've been on an island about by myself, like as my own Alien franchise, like super nerd in my, just like no one else that I really, I don't know. I mean, like I have friends who like enjoy the movie or they'll like really like Aliens. Right. But I don't have like people like you guys, like, here around me in my everyday life that like love these movies as much as we all do. And so when I found that, like you guys are talking about like the first time you maybe experienced like just, I think it was 2020 for me. I was literally like searching online, and I don't know why I didn't like really leverage the internet to find more resources for myself. But like podcasting was kind of like, I'd listened to some stuff and I was like into audiobooks, and I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's an actual like people that talk about Alien or like the Alien movies and things like that. So I did some Googling, and then I found I found Perfect Organ, like the website. And then I started listening to episodes on Spotify, but like the first series of episodes I listened to was that Alien 3, the Nihilism series. And like, it just touched my heart in such a way that I was like addicted. I think like from there on for like the next month, I was like listening to an episode like every day or whenever I had free time to do that. And then that's when I started messaging. Jaime, maybe you were primarily on the Instagram page, and then like you and I started talking more directly, but it was just such a joy. Like I said, like I've had like literally since I've been a child, like growing up kind of like on this island of like loving these movies. Cause it's like all the things happen, like growing up, like I had my buddy, I know I'm talking about my buddy, Chris, who I grew up with, like watching these movies and like watching the Alien movies, Terminator, the Predator movies. And we had all the action figures and like all that story again. Right. But then, you move away, or we left for college. Like we weren't as strong of friends, I guess, in high school. We were just kind of doing different things. And then like that kind of fizzled away. And so I had been like, had all this like pent up, like things I wanted to talk about. And so like, it was just, I don't know. It just filled such a big hole in my heart to like meet you guys and listen to you guys talk about it. Christian, to your point, like, and Patrick, just like how articulate you guys are about talking about these things. like I've learned, Patrick, to your point, I've learned so much. Like I can just sit here and listen to you guys talk about just your past experiences with things, like people that you have connections with. Other, like Patrick, your background of like being a composer and like having these just crazy facts about the soundtracks and how things were made is so cool to me. Christian, you know, the props. That's cool. Like, I just love it when you guys like bring in, like, go down these little rabbit holes of things like that. So yeah, I wanted to contribute so badly in any way. And I think the first episode you guys had me on like a round table with Dave Gogol, I think, actually, who is just a character. I hope he's listening. And I love chatting with Dave. He's like drinking like he had like a mug of beer, I think, or something he was drinking that night. And we were just like, I don't know, shooting the shit about aliens. And it was like a dream come true for me. So thanks so much, you guys.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
That enthusiasm that you bring, like, has never waned for a second. And that's one other thing I just love about you, man. You know, like that love that you have for this franchise. It's just that you're such a beating heart. Speaking of which, we're going to get to Andy and Xander in a minute. I want to do a quick Madge shout out because that was a rare one that I found. Thank you very much. Because Madge and I were talking on Building Better Worlds quite a bit way back in the day. For those of you who might not know, Madge is actually a really good musician, like a legit musician. And so we were kind of talking about that, but then he would keep like wanting to change the subject back to like biomechanics and like Giger and artwork. And I was like, okay, I also can talk a lot about that. You know, and so we would have these great, deep alien conversations. And I remember specifically, I was in the dentist chair, which is a place I frequently find myself because my mom gave me bad teeth genetics for some reason. But I was at the dentist, and I got this message from Madge, and I'm like sitting there with Novocaine. And I'm like reading this comment, and I'm like, fuck, we got to get this guy on the show. You know, that's the Novocaine in my mouth. So I texted Jamie, and I was like, I really think that like we have this guy who like he talks the talk. He's got a really cool background. And Madge came on and was such a great fit from the very beginning. And circling back around for a second to Andy. So Andy came to us as a bit of a celebrity. This is a little bit of a rare, Andy had a little bit of a name, a little bit of a rep for herself in fandom, not only because of the con picture that went, viral, but also just because like you were such a name. Like I feel like I knew like exactly who AndieGeekGirl was before we even talked. And I have to say, it's been incredible getting to know the person behind that persona, in the ensuing 2 years or whatever it's been. Because you, I think, you exemplify to me what fandom is in a really real way. The way that you live your fandom is like continually inspiring and revivifying. There's a word, Christian, for the 5-syllable list. It's okay, like love. You constantly, you constantly make me feel ready to re-engage on these things in such a deep way. And the way that you like live that by example with your family, and the way that you live it with like the costumes and the crafting and the activities, you're like another person that does family Alien Day stuff. Like I really love that. That was like, you're my Alien Day activity buddy. Like you just constantly make me feel like I want to more deeply re-engage with this fan community. And so thank you for doing that.
First of all, I'm going to cry. So thank you. You guys are, I can't, I mean, you're speaking about being articulate, and clearly I am not right now, because I just don't even have the words to tell you how much being a part of this group has meant to me. I think I discovered you, I want to say like 3-4 years ago, maybe. I was, in the dark days of, not dark, they were very wonderful, but like having like small children, you don't really have time to engage as often as I would have liked. They're not dark. They were wonderful. Believe me. But as far as fandom is concerned, so I felt like, I really think it was the 30th anniversary, like going to San Diego and just getting reignited through that. And then I started looking on the internet more for a community. And, it really is about finding your people, and I found my people with you. It was, I think, through Building Better Worlds too. I found your podcast, and then I loved the conversations. And to your point, everybody who commented on there were respectful. They were passionate, knowledgeable, but so insightful and intelligent. And I knew that was the place for me immediately. And listen to your podcast. Like Perry, you said you caught on. I think I also joined in the Alien 3 discussion, maybe before that. I know you were discussing one of the films, and then I listened to the whole series, and I went back and I listened from the beginning, and I caught up. And it was wonderful. It was interesting to see the differences of opinions evolve too. And how sometimes you sort of differed with, like early on you had one opinion, and then discussing it with each other, just like it happened with me, I was able to see things from a different perspective that maybe, not having talked about it, not having my people, I just was in this one mindset of it. Especially regarding Alien 3. You guys have turned me on that completely.
Yo, Andy fucking hates Alien 3.
Yo, Andy fucking hates it.
No!
Listen, it is not the best. I'm never going on that one. But no, you definitely brought me around. But not to definitely not your level. But just to your point though, everyone brings something different. Christian hit it on the head, the intelligence, the heart, both of those things combined make this podcast the place to be. I still can't believe that you guys even asked me, to be honest. I'm still pinching myself.
I think that was not Christian. It was a Patrick thing. Patrick, you positioned Andy first because we had been, didn't you?
Or
was it? Yeah. Because you mentioned her.
Okay.
But we were always.
You and I had talked about her in the past, but I was specifically like, I think she should come on the show. If we
also, because we're like, it's a sausage show, it's just like we need like.
Show.
I see. I filled a quote. I get it.
No, but like, I just felt like it was important. We both felt like it was important to have women represented in a community where arguably the pillar of that community is a woman, is Ellen Ripley.
They think we're crud.
Andy had done the Aliens commentary track with you guys. So that's was right. Proof. That was proof right there that not only did she know her stuff, but that she could communicate it well. Now, Patrick, you referred to her as a celebrity. And I want to say I sent her a friend request 1 year before she joined Perfect Organism on Facebook, and she ignored me. So that's and wow. Why wouldn't she? I am literally a hermit. You guys like dropped VHS copies of Aliens as bait to get me out of my cave to come do this thing. That's how I see this, right? I think there's a VHS copy of Aliens out there, so I couldn't get it. So you guys caught me in a cage. So no, there's no reason for anyone to ever befriend me on Facebook. So Andy, I don't hold that against you, but I do think it's pretty funny. Because when you found out,
very selective. It's not just you. I am very selective.
Big deal. When you're a celebrity, you can't just be friending everyone.
I mean, she's got fucking Sting hanging out with her all the time,
Yeah.
But to be fair, so there's a very famous picture that continues to circle the very wide web and social media of a cute little girl dressed up like Ripley at a convention, and Michael Biehn is behind her holding the gun. That is Andy's daughter. I didn't even know this until after you had joined the show. I didn't even connect the two. And then I'm like, oh shit, that was her kids, and there's other like crazy connections that we all share with Andy and people that we know. And it was just the right time.
You guys throw me at the wolves and now you want me to go back out there? Forget it. It's not my problem.
I always thought it was important to have a female voice on this show. I just never feel like we can fully represent the community enough until we fully represent the community. But we would be remiss to not mention someone who I also think is incredible, who is listening to the show. He's on the Zoom call right now, Xander House, who formerly he is our social media guy for Shoulder of Orion, the Blade Runner podcast, but he's always involved in what we're doing on the Alien podcast. He was involved in Alien Abandoned, which was our audio drama that we released on Alien Day this year. He helped me out so much with that. He's also involved in our next project that we're going to announce at some point, which has been amazing. Xander is a really fantastic guy. He's a huge fan of Alien and Blade Runner, and he makes props. And I know you guys have some of his props that are incredible. He's so willing to talk, and he's one of those fans that you can just get excited about things with and just nerd out and geek out about small things. And I really, really appreciate that. And I knew Xander and I think we've been talking for like 3 years at least before Patrick and I decided to bring him on the show, because we were like, should we have him on both? Like, we didn't want to overwhelm him, but we knew that this was a right fit for him, that he was, like you guys, kind of picky about community, but also wanted community. So Xander, I know you're listening. Thank you so much for being a part of this team. We would not be who we are without you.
Xander is the quiet workhorse behind the scenes who does, as Jaime was saying, tons of social media work. He also helps us on these calls with tech support, with helping us get comments sorted out. And also just like, we're talking about hidden talents a little bit tonight, with Madge, with his music and things like that. But Xander, in addition to his prop making and, sculpting and incredible work, which he, by the way, is making armor for my children right now. So thank you, Xander, for that. In addition to that, is an incredible writer. He does a lot of really interesting, like, alternate movies and sequels to things, and like just an all around artist and great guy who I was really fortunate to get to hang out with at our LA Live event, and who I hope to hang out with again sometime soon. Speaking of which, I'm hoping to hang out with a bunch of you sometime soon as well, because we do have a project that we're still somehow not announcing. Although I kind of feel like, Jamie, the 200th episode, like maybe we should announce. Maybe we should finally.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Do it.
You fucking do it.
So I would say about 2 years ago, Patrick and I floated the idea of doing a short film, and we didn't really know if we were in that place yet, but we thought, hey, what's the next step? We talked about it. Didn't really go anywhere. We weren't making, intentional plans. We just threw it out there, kind of went into the ether. And then, of course, we've had COVID going on for a long time, and 2020 proved to be a very difficult year. I don't think we released anything in No, we didn't. We didn't release anything in 2020. Or was it 20? No, we didn't. We released, in terms of like an audio drama, we always release a
Tides of Night was 21, right?
21, and there was nothing in 2020. 2019 was our video diary, right. Alien Outland. So we did Tides of Night in 2021, and then we did Alien Abandoned. I just got this crazy idea for a story right after we released Tides of Night, like a week later. And I started pestering Patrick about it. He's like, Jamie, we just released this episode. Give it a minute. But then, after we released Abandoned this year, I felt like personally we had come as far as we could go. In terms of, I felt like Abandoned is the best thing I've done and we've released in terms of what I wrote, but certainly as a team, I think it's the best thing that we've done. And I felt like maybe it's time. And then Christian brought up this idea for a short film. And so then I think he brought us up in a group with me and Christian and Patrick. And so then I was quietly texting Patrick, like, should we do a short film? This would be great. And Christian had an idea for one that I won't get into that might be a project for us down the road. So then we decided to launch a short film that we will at least launch the discussions of a short film that we hope to release Alien Day of 2023. And it's going to be called Alien Transmission.
And talk about hidden talents, among many of them on the call tonight, Perry has a former career as an actor, like in Hollywood, being in films. So like, that's a great opportunity to have a cast member right there, as well as my wife, who's a former professional actress, who's going to be resuming a role that she started in that web series that we talked about. There's going to be some continuity with other Perfect Organism universe properties via Perry and some other things. But also, like, it's such a cool moment to think, like, we don't have to hire outside to do this because we kind of have all the tools we need. Like, we have Madge, who's a huge photography buff, who's going to be our DP. We have Xander, who can do this incredible 3D sculpting work, who's going to do some model work for us. We have, like, access to such incredible riches. Like we have such a wealth of material expertise here that like, I don't know, it was the right time. And so we're going to transform my basement into a set, and it's going to be very cool. The kids are going to be involved. It's going to be a whole thing. I can't wait for it.
Tents and tarps. I'm kidding.
It's going to be a fucking floating tent.
I can't wait to see what the craft is going to be like.
The craft service?
Yeah. We're going to get some bagel bites downstairs.
Or you mean the craft as in the cockpit?
No, I meant the food.
He means the catering.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. We're going to get some New Haven style of beets.
But yeah, we'll talk more about that as we go along. Maybe for this announcement, I'll drop that poster that I made. We'll premiere that when we drop this episode, which so everyone can see. But yeah, that's what we're working on. Again, just to everyone here on the show, thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Like, I look forward to these discussions every week. Certainly they're great when it's just Patrick and Christian and I, but I love our roundtables. I love that when we're together. I'm big on community. I'm big on like feeling like I'm doing something, not just with people who are doing it with me, but they're my friends and family. And the best family is the family you choose, in my opinion. And having chosen y'all has been it's great for me. It's great for my emotional health. It's great for my mental health because my community is all online. And this show gets me through. So thank you guys so much for what you do.
Fuck it! Let's go for it!
I'm very excited for the POCU to finally premiere the Perfect Organism Cinematic Universe.
Yes, hell yeah.
All right. Now listen up. I want this thing to go smooth and by the numbers. I want DCS and tactical database assimilation by 0830. Ordnance loading, weapon strip, and dropship prep details will have 7 hours. Now move it, people.
All right, sweethearts, you heard the man and you know the drill. Assholes and elbows. Hudson, come here. Come here.
We've all been away. A lot of us have gone away for the summer, whether it's locally, wherever you guys live, or I mean, I know where you live, or for some of us, it's been internationally, which has been great. So we've all been traveling, and again, we're in the first couple of weeks of kind of resuming the rhythm of our show in terms of recording, and we're recording an episode tomorrow about alien and feminism, and that's kind of a hot topic for me in terms of it's in this climate that we live in with so many people kind of on one extreme or the other. It's going to be interesting to see how people respond to that, because words like feminism is a hot button word. I think it's a rather innocuous word, but for some people it's a lightning rod of a word, which I don't think it should be. But we wanted to have the conversation of, in terms of the Alien series, the original trilogy being led by a woman, how does feminism play into that? And why would it play into that? Does it have any role? But I feel like it's a conversation that we need to have. I feel like that's the elephant in the room in some ways. So that's kind of what we have next. But we have some other stuff going on too, which Patrick and Christian, if you guys want to mention.
Just to throw another little detail on there, this is going to feature the return of Sarah Welch Larson, who many of you might remember from our Alien Day coverage. She was an incredible author of feminist theological philosophy, I believe is her background. She wrote an amazing book that we've linked to and talked about quite a bit called Becoming Alien, which was a great book that we all enjoyed and talked about quite a bit. So she's coming back on to give us her, unique, studied take on it. And of course, it'll feature Andie and Christian and Jaime and myself. We also are thinking about doing an episode or maybe even a mini series on aliens and Vietnam, specifically the Vietnam era conflict, because there's obvious geopolitical and storytelling ties to James Cameron's work on aliens in there. But also, the movie says more sophisticated things about conflict than I think people give it credit for. So that's going to be a really fun one to tease out as well.
See, this is what I'm talking about too. Like, Jaime, I think you said 8 years, right? That the show has been around. Like, wow. Like, that's awesome. And like, how great is it that we've found like this piece of art, right? Like, cemented in history, cinematically, that allows us to talk about so many different things, like how it relates to the world, how it relates to past historical events, like what theologically, what we can grasp from these ideas that were presented to us through these movies, and like how it affects us and like how we feel about that. And like we can just keep finding things to add on to this like pyramid of just amazing ideas and amazing talking points and things to allow each other and hopefully enlighten other people to like either learn something new about themselves or a new way that they feel about something. But then just for us too, as a group, you know, and I told Maj that we were really going to miss him tonight, but we miss you, Maj. But it's just great to have these conversations to allow us to just like cohesively bond and like, I don't know. I feel like I gain a deeper level of knowledge and like love for you all. Seriously. I didn't know that about the Vietnam episode. That's awesome.
We also have an interview coming up with the creators of Aliens Expanded, the documentary that is currently doing a crowdfunder till October 1st, I believe. And we're very excited about that, to talk to these guys and see, you know, what their passion is. But also Andie lined up an interview for us that I think we're going to keep secret until we have it fully locked down. But she did some hard work at a convention, and I'm very excited about that. We also have an interview coming up with the creators of Aliens Expanded, the upcoming documentary. They're doing a crowdfunding right now on their website, which is aliens-expanded.com. And as of recording, we are about 10 hours into their campaign, and they have already raised $26,000. So we're super excited to be part of this and to be actually part of the contributing circle of content creators who they have reached out to about helping them to reach a larger audience, but also to get feedback about what should be in this documentary. So please stay tuned for that episode. It's going to be a great interview.
That'll probably end up being a bonus episode, honestly. We're recording quite a bit. Good job, Christian. We're recording quite a bit in the next couple of weeks for whatever reason. It's just kind of happened. So the episode with Creator VC, which is Ian Nathan and Robin Block. Ian Nathan is the director. Robin Block is one of the executive producers. We're going to have them. We're going to record that show next week, and it'll probably drop within a few days just because there is momentum in the air in terms of their crowdfunding campaign, and it's just a good time. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, there's quite a bit. There's always a bunch of stuff that, I mean, we're always talking about, like a series about the unmade but feels like it was made Blomkamp film, what that was about, what that whole journey was. I mean, that announcement is what started the show, honestly. I was so fucking excited about that movie until Patrick deconverted me after like 3 years. Like, okay, you're right. But no, but
fucking hashtag bring Ripley back.
Yeah, there's so much that we have to discuss. I mean, there's just so much. On top of, which I think this is a good segue, there's a lot happening in the alien community right now in terms of official publications. The new book by Clara and Philippa, Alien Inferno's Fall, which I've been reading, and it's really, really good. It's very, very in-depth and well-written. There's a new Alien comic coming out, Patrick, right, from Marvel, with a new artist, I think, involved.
Christian, do you remember who the new artist, what his name is? Will something?
I don't know the artist's name. I do know that Marvel is starting over with issue 1, which I guess is something that they do sometimes. But so it'll be a brand new issue 1, still with Philip Kennedy Johnson writing, which is great.
Yeah. So as Christian pointed out shortly before we started recording, Marvel is actually going back to issue number 1 for this, which is how they typically signify new creative teams. Amazing Spider-Man readers will have just noticed this a couple months ago, where we went back from about 900 issues earlier back to number 1 again. This case, it's going to be Philip Kennedy Johnson staying on board as the writer, which I think everybody's very excited about. But a welcome change of pace from the art, which will no longer be from Salvador Larroca. It'll be from Julius Ota, who's an artist that I wasn't personally, I didn't really know before this, but I've been looking through his portfolio, and he looks like super, super talented. I think that's great. They just had their annual come out last month, which was a nice little send-off, I think, for the previous, creative duo. So yeah, things are looking up in that regard, and I think it's about time we get Philip back on the show too. So I think we can safely say look out for that in the coming months too.
Yeah. Speaking of things that I'm looking forward to, is Titan has a new novel coming out in late October called Aliens Vasquez, written by Violet Castro, who is a Latinx author, and it's all about Vasquez and her family. And I think it's a really interesting new direction that breaks with, they've had a bit of a continuity for the last few issues timeline wise. And I think that this is going to take things back so that we see more of Vasquez's previous life leading up to LV-426, but also introducing her children, which is something that you will all remember. A year ago, Jeanette Goldstein said on our show that she thought Vasquez had a child. And I don't know that that this author heard our interview, but I really feel like that is a scoop that we got, and that this novel is going to really play out in an interesting way.
Look, man, I only need to know one thing. Where they are.
Joe Vasquez, kick ass.
Anytime, anywhere.
It's also not surprising that we're getting more Vasquez content, given how, that our episode was super popular with her. Everybody clearly loves Jeanette Goldstein. But also, right after that, we had Marvel's Aliens Aftermath come out, which featured another Vasquez. This is her nephew, I believe, in that one. And that was another great one, written by Benjamin Percy, who came on our show around that time, and still, sorry to say this, everyone, holds the record for the sexiest voice to ever grace Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast. I'll never forget the first time he came on and was like, "Hello, gentlemen." And I was like, man, that's a voice from the gods. But yeah, very exciting stuff.
Patrick first asked him if that was his real voice.
I did. I wanted, because it was like too good to be true. I was like, how do you not have a voiceover career? That's actually what he talks like. That's a better impression than I thought it was going to be. Holy shit.
That's good. What's on the horizon? The big things that are on the horizon right now. We all know the Noah Hawley series, which probably won't be out till 2024, unfortunately. But there's a movie that's currently in production, and some of you might have heard the director give a welcome on our shows and our content for Alien Day this year. Fede Alvarez is directing his own Alien film. I think it's being shot in Australia right now and a couple other parts of the world. And that film seems to be due out on sometime next year. So that's really exciting. We've actually been in contact with Fede personally. He's been emailing us. He's an incredibly kind man. Just to give us the time of day. I know, when you're in production, it is really busy. Certainly as a director, you have hundreds of people pulling your attention every which way, and then you have executives pulling your attention every which way. And to give us some time that he did, and to respond to our emails, and to record something for us for Alien Day has been great. But I am really looking forward to his film. But what has been released that's actual something to look at, there were 3 stills that AVP Galaxy released, concept designs from Noah Hawley's Alien series, which I thought were really, really interesting, and I thought we should at least mention it and get people's opinion on what they saw. It's the first Alien movie anything that we've seen since 2017, aside from the shorts.
I loved it. I thought the stills were great, and there's probably too much to unpack there than we could ever cover in the next however many minutes. But yeah, I loved it. I think there was a lot of fear, right? I think of us just chatting on it about it being set on Earth, right? And so, but I don't know, seeing the ideas come out of these conflicting, I guess, organizations that are, out in the universe and space, doing whatever they're doing, planet building or conquering whatever. And just, I don't know, teasing that there have been these these things, the aliens around before we saw the first Alien film is just a cool, because throughout the whole franchise, really, we never see what's been going on Earth, or what Earth is like, what's, unless you watch the alternate ending to Alien Resurrection, which is Jamie's favorite movie. But yeah, it's just, it's really, really cool to see what could be, and the stills just look great. You're like, oh man, wow, they're feeding us. They're feeding us what I think maybe we want to see, but it's just cool to get some new content at the same time.
I have to say, I am very excited about it, and this is not me pooping on it, but I'm going to poop a little bit in that I'm kind of disappointed that we're seeing adult Big Chap style aliens in this, even though we kind of assumed that was going to happen. Only because of what Christian brings up, I think very rightfully, about Covenant. which is that it's sort of whittling away at the eldritch Lovecraftian aspects of the mythology. It's like the more you see about the creature and its origins and where it came from and how new it is and how recent all these events are, it kind of takes some of that mystery away. That being said, that this is all based on, extremely early conceptual art. The series we're assuming won't come out for another 35 years. I mean, at minimum. So like, who knows what they're going to do with it. And if what we see is what we're really going to get. And if we do get it, Noah Hawley is an incredibly huge Alien fan and such a good storyteller that I'm sure he'll find a way to make that work. But I'm just, my inner little, grumpy nerd buzzer is kind of going off a little bit in that I was sort of hoping it would be a little more mysterious and a little less sort of illuminating.
Have there been or any sort of statement or something put out that says anything about it being like not a standalone idea or concept, but something that's like not connected to? I know it's the universe, but like, you know what I'm saying? That maybe there's an argument for that it's not.
The really funny thing, there hasn't been anything like that. It is supposed to be part of continuity, and it isn't that it contradicts Alien so much as that it contradicts Alien Covenant. The most recent film definitively says David created the alien on this planet in this year, and this series is set before that. It's set more in the Prometheus time frame, around, within 5 years of that, according to some of the stuff they've said. So for us to see a big chap style alien on Earth as an Alien fan, as a Ripley fan, that's iffy, because my whole point is that Ripley keeps the alien from ever coming to Earth. But more importantly, it's just really bizarre to have something that is blatantly contradicting the most recent film in the series. I'm fine with that because I don't like that little bit of continuity in Alien Covenant, but it is a little weird. Now, I think that everyone has already thought this through. The only way this works is if this is a contained incident that ends and gives Weyland-Yutani the drive to continue to look for this creature, so that when that signal is discovered on the planetoid that we later call LV-426, they know exactly what to do. They want to get to it quickly. But I don't know. At the same time, we have to take this artwork with a little bit of a grain of salt, in that, yes, that looks like a big chap style alien, but it's also covered in Weyland-Yutani logos, something that would not exist in this time frame. That is a post-alien development. They should be using different symbols. It should only be the Weyland Corporation at that point. That's getting super nerdy. I'm pushing the nerd glasses up on my face as I say that, but this looks like broad strokes. This is some art that Weta has put out there. Maybe it is directly tied to what happens in these episodes. We'll wait and see. But I'm not too worried about how this is going to make or break continuity until the episodes come out.
And then when it does come out, of course, we can always just say that David created an alien, right? Or like an expression of that via this accelerant, and these scientists from the Weyland Corporation created an alien of their own, but it isn't the alien that we get in Big Chap, I'm fine with them breaking that terrible bit of news from Covenant. The older you make the alien, the happier I am. That's the Lovecraftianness is in the ancient horror that is dredged up, and we're not ready for it. Andie, what do you think?
Well, I think as far as any kind of leaked, was this leaked or was this?
Yes.
Okay. So I always take it with a grain of salt as well, because for all we know, they could have just slapped a random alien in there to throw people off. I mean, I know that's being sort of dismissive of the whole thing, or just like the Weyland-Yutani, like you said. I think maybe they're trying to play around with, we don't know what we don't want to be too specific on the timeline. So we're just going to throw a bunch of stuff in there, to kind of appease the casual fan, I guess. I think some of the concepts themselves are interesting. And just based on what he said as well, of it focusing on the company, then I don't know how much of the alien we're going to see, or if we're just seeing it at its infant stages. I don't know. I'm kind of with you. Whatever it does or doesn't do as far as tying to Covenant, I'm okay with. You know, I mean, I don't want them to completely negate it, but I think Patrick's right. You can sort of disentangle the two and come up with a way to have both things be true in a way. And then that alien could have disappeared for however many decades, and then we see it again in Alien.
However, so there's a couple things in play with this. So when they first announced this show, which was on Disney Plus Day in 2020, they said in the not too distant future, which made all of fandom go, what are you doing? Because as we all know, you know, but then from what I know, that language has been changed, that it's not in the not too distant future anymore. It is in a future. So it would make more sense. I don't think that's not official, but I'm fairly certain that what they first announced is not fully what they're doing because of some continuity issues. But at the end of the day, even if it were true, you guys know me. I mean, if it's a good story and it's a great cast, we're not going to care. It's going to be, you know, if it's great, it'll be great. I mean, again, we've been treated with something really amazing recently, which is Prey, which all of us loved, which is a film that, you know, it just worked on every level. And we're hoping that Alien does that as well. Hopefully, again, I don't know when it's going to release. It looks like they're going to start shooting next year. And yeah, maybe, I'm sure it'll probably be for like a fall 2024 release.
It's funny you bring up Prey, though, because they had a similar thing where someone in publicity said, this is the first time a predator has hunted on Earth. And then the film comes out and it's, no, this is the first time this predator has hunted on Earth. And the semantic difference drove superfans crazy because it was breaking with continuity if this was the first time a predator had ever hunted on Earth. So similarly, someone in publicity for this Alien film, or Alien TV show, excuse me, may have said, yeah, it's in the near future. And that may not be Noah Hawley's true intention. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think they underestimated the nitpicking abilities of the fandom at large. I think you're right. I think it was just like casually tossed out. Like, yeah, it's in the future. It could be, for all we know, in the future from the last film or in the timeline, as far as someone is concerned, if they just threw it out there. So I'm always of the belief of, I'm going in trying to know as little as possible while still being engaged in the fandom, so that I want to be shocked. I want to be surprised. I want to feel like I'm seeing an Alien movie or series for the first time and not know too much. I know it's hard to do in this day and age, but that's always my goal, or intention at least.
Ironically, you saying that, with the Alvarez film, we know nothing. Patrick and I think, we won't say it on air, but we're familiar with the story, just the bare bones of what they're doing with the story. But aside from that, like, we know essentially all of the stuff about the Hawley show that who knows when it's going to release, but we know nothing about the Alvarez film, which I honestly prefer. Like, hopefully Disney Plus Day is on Thursday, and Disney Plus Day is a day where they go and they talk about what's coming up for releases for all of their streaming services, and I think movies as well, but like Hulu, FX, Disney Plus, of course, which is, you know, the mainstay for them. And I mean, we could see something drop there in terms of a first still something. I'm hoping that they drop something. It's time. Like, I feel like it's time because Prey is behind them. All the promotion for that is over. Disney Plus Day is like the next year ahead or so. So this is perfect opportunity for them to start teasing this film. I'm ready. I'm ready to start the roll up to a release. Maybe because Predator did so well, they released this movie in theaters. I don't know. Like, Predator did so well for them. I think it was Hulu's biggest movie or biggest like audience they've ever experienced, right? At least for like an
original IP, yeah.
Yeah.
Not IP, yeah. For an original film, yeah.
I think there's so much possibility now, and I think that Prey has given them a path forward in some ways. Like, hey, this could be viable. A good film is viable beyond this, because they could then not just rely on new subscribers. They can go and make possibly $300 or $400 million or more. So we'll see. I'm excited though.
Just to be clear though, Disney wanted to release something aggressive, like 10 20th century films on Hulu. And so Prey counted as part of that, and the Alvarez film will as well. We may luck out. I'm really hoping that Prey will get like a Fathom Events kind of situation later on, but they really want to have feature films that are tied to the 20th century brand on Hulu. that's a goal for them. So we're going to have to just keep subscribing to Hulu.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Which just today raised its ad supported price.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did see that as well. Yeah.
Hulu.
$2,
What was it before?
right?
Yeah, it's $2. It was like $11.99. Yeah.
It's $7.99 now for the ad supported one.
$7? I pay $14.99.
It's $12.99 for the ad free and jumping to $14.99.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Patrick and I pay for the ads, so $7.
Yeah. How else am I going to hear about insurance companies? You know, that's all I got to say.
You gotta get those Black Friday deals.
Totally. We should also mention quickly, because Patrick and both Christian brought up Lovecraft, we are talking about a series having to do with Lovecraft in terms of the connection between the Alien IP and Lovecraft. And it's something that I'm still learning about. I'm not well versed in that language at all. And I got more interested in it, honestly, when Christian stayed over here at my house, because we hosted an event for Prop Store, and we went to this Lovecraft, what was it, a Lovecraft museum?
Well, it's the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society.
Okay.
Which is a storefront and also sort of an archive. And they put out a number of products, whether it's audio dramas or they do a podcast where they read his letters, all kinds of things. But yeah, it's an amazing place, and it's an amazing, like us, it's a brand that encompasses a lot of different things. So that was a crash course for Jaime, and Patrick and I and Maj too are big Lovecraft fans. And so I think there is an opportunity to really dig into why, going the whole way back to 1979, there were reviewers saying this is the most Lovecraftian movie ever made, about the first Alien film. And Dan O'Bannon was a gigantic Lovecraft fan. He directed one of the best feature-length films called The Resurrected, based on Lovecraft's The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. And so it's in his blood. Maybe we could even talk to Diane O'Bannon. But I feel like there's something there, maybe for a couple of episodes, to really dig into that.
And if you ever doubt for a second how deep the ties are between Alien and Lovecraft, there was a planned At the Mountains of Madness film that was going to be made by Guillermo del Toro that was canceled in the wake of Prometheus, because he just gave up on it, because he was like, they made the movie that I was going to make.
He tried for so long that it got derailed twice, because the first Alien versus Predator movie also steals directly from At the Mountains of Madness. And he said, son of a bitch, I'll wait a couple years. And then Prometheus comes out and does it again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all over the stuff. And speaking finally of hidden talents, just briefly, you know, many of us on the show are very big Lovecraft fans, but Christian is an actual expert in Lovecraft for many reasons that we'll get to when we do the series. So if H.P. Lovecraft's work and the mythos has been something you've been kind of interested in, but not known all of the ins and outs of, like me, it's going to be a really interesting experience to learn quite a bit more about that. And it's deeper imprints on Alien, I think.
Well, this seems like a good place to close. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. Thank you, everyone who have been listening to the show for years. 200 episodes, who knows? We might do 200 more. Who knows? I don't know. But I would not want to be doing the show with anyone else but you guys. And I mean that genuinely from my heart. This has been such a good time, such a fun time. It's just my life. It's what I think about and do every day. And I know you guys, it's on your mind as well. So thank you guys so much. And also, if you want to be a part of the team in terms of like help support the show, if you go to perfectorganism.com/support and sign up, $4 a month. All the money goes in through Patreon and it comes to us. And a lot of that money these days is going straight to the short film that we're doing. It's helping us to fly people there, to buy equipment. It's the biggest project we've ever taken on as a show, I think. So it's, if you want to be involved in that, and who knows, maybe we'll do a producer thing and put our patrons' names as producers on this show, because it's going to take more money than we've spent before. So thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To find out more information about Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga Podcast, please go to www.perfectorganism.com. If you would like to support the show, please go to www.perfectorganism.com/support. Thank you.